Deeming is part of the income test, which is one of the qualifications for the aged pension. It is used to determine the income from your financial assets. Why is deeming used and not the real income from your assets? And how does it work? Well, in this video, you get the answers to those questions in plain English. Welcome, I'm Sabrina from retireon.com.au. In today's video, we look at deeming. This is a concept used to determine the income from your financial assets. Why only financial assets? Well, contrary to the income from other income sources, such as income from an investment property, which is stable, the income from your financial assets varies according to its performance on the market. So if the economy is going well and the markets go up, the performance of your asset is going well as well and you get a bigger income. On the contrary, if the market is going down, the performance of your asset is also going down and your income will be lower, or you may even have a loss. So deeming is used to calculate a set rate, a stable rate of income, which is then used in the income test and will result in a stable aged pension rate as well. And this is the main reason that deeming is used. It gives you a stable aged pension rate. There are some other benefits and we'll talk about them a bit later in this video. But first, let's look at what's considered a financial asset. The main types are saving accounts and term deposits, managed investments, loans and debentures, listed shares and securities, some income streams, and that's where the income from your super comes in, and some gifts you make. Now, let's see how it works. First, you have to determine the total value of all your financial assets, and then you have to apply the rules depending on your living status. Here are the rules current for 2019. If you are single, the first $51,800 are deemed at 1.75%. If you live in a couple and at least one person gets a pension, the first $86,200 are deemed at 1.75%, and we're looking at combined assets here. If you live in a couple but no one gets a pension, the limit is different again. It's the first $43,100 that are deemed at 1.75%. And here we're looking only at your own and your share of joint assets. For everyone, the rest after the limit is deemed at 3.25%. So once you apply these rules, you get the deemed income. And this deemed income is then used in the income test. But this is very dry. So let's look at some examples so that you can get a feeling of how much this deemed income would be. I've calculated the deemed income per fortnight for a financial asset value of $100,000, $200,000 and $500,000. As you can see, the income for singles and couples is quite similar. And also, the increase in this income matches the increase in the value of the assets, right? But overall, I was actually surprised. I expected the income to be higher. The deemed income is quite low in my opinion. Well, I have to admit that these numbers are actually smaller than I expected. And this leads me to the benefits of deemed income. But first, can I ask you to subscribe to my channel? I would really appreciate your support. One of the benefits is that if your financial assets performs better than the deeming rate, this difference in return is not considered as income. Let's look at this example. I took the same numbers as in the example before. Let's assume that your financial asset is your super fund. The return is 6%. Why did I choose 6%? Well, according to Canstar, the top performed super funds had an average return of 6.42% in the last year. And why did I choose a super fund? Well, most Australians have a super fund and therefore will be affected by this deeming rate. As you can see, the actual income is always bigger than the deemed income, independent of the value of your financial asset. So this will actually have a negative effect of your aged pension rate. Because if you use the actual income as the income in the income test, your aged pension rate would be reduced more than if you would use the deemed income. Of course, there are some limits that apply for the income test, but we're not discussing them here in this video. So as you can see, it makes sense to use the deemed income instead of the actual income, don't you think? Another benefit is, and I've mentioned this before, is that using deemed income calculates a set rate of income that's then used in the income test and eventually results in a stable aged pension. In my opinion, that's a very good thing and it makes life easier. Imagine budgeting with an aged pension rate that varies every month or every year. That could make life quite complicated, don't you think? And one last positive point, it allows you to choose your investments according to your needs. You don't have to base your choice on how the investment is going to affect your aged pension payments. But what happens if an investment underperforms? Well, you can get an exemption. If you get one, then the actual income from your investment will be used in the income test. And yes, this income can be zero. Usually you have to apply for your own exemption. There is one exception though, and this is if an investment company collapses and there's a lot of investors affected. Then there may be a group exemption in place for all those investors and you don't have to apply for your individual one. Here are some examples of what may be exempt. A failed financial investment, some super if it's fully preserved or inaccessible, or an account that only contains money from a national disability insurance scheme package. And here are some examples of what may not be exempt. Shares with a negative return, or companies or funds having short-term problems. So who decides if you can get an exemption? It's the Minister of Social Services. And once it's granted, it will keep going until the reason for it no longer exists. So these are the most important points of deeming that you need to know. You are now able to estimate your deemed income for the income test. If you would like to know some more about how this may affect your aged pension, then watch my other video that I made about the income test. I hope I was able to explain this concept of deeming in an easy to understand way. Please let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Like and subscribe to my channel so you get notified when I post a new video. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in my next video.